The true crime docuseries Murder in the Bayou is from director Matthew Gulkin, who also made the documentary Kevorkian for HBO about the assisted suicide advocate quaintly known as Dr. Death. This time he teams with author Ethan Brown, whose New York Times best-selling book of the same title is the inspiration for the series. The 5-part docuseries investigates the unsolved murders of 8 women whose bodies were discovered between 2005 and 2009 in drainage canals and on desolate back roads in and around the US town of Jennings, Louisiana, in rural Jefferson Davis Parish. It's a place of poverty, blighted homes, and an enormous social divide, a pipeline choked with drugs running through the very small town of 10,000, which is divided by railroad tracks. On the north side of the tracks, doctors and lawyers live, known derisively by locals as the upper scale people, ensconced in massive multi-storey houses surrounded by plush lawns. On the south side are small shacks and decaying, dilapidated houses and people plagued by poverty, unemployment, mental illness, drugs and prostitution. Gulkin and his producer Joss Levine had a very simple storytelling objective from the start of their investigation. Their film would have no omniscient narrator and no dramatic reenactments. What they embrace as filmmakers is a rigorous journalistic approach blended with a fictional narrative technique, imaginative storytelling motivated in the end by a concern for social justice. In Gulkin's series, the people of Jennings would tell their own story. Director of photography Jeff Hutchins is good at working within the confines of the real world and seeing what beauty he can discover without manipulating what's actually there. And his interview sequences are hauntingly effective, often framed in wide close-up. His subjects caught halfway in shot and facing away from the lens. There's a quiet subjectivity about them, as if we're eavesdropping. And he subtly captures them below Christian iconography of wooden crosses on walls or folkish paintings of Jesus and his disciples to the side, pointing to the deep southern Christian underpinnings of faith. Religious belief and owning guns, some of the few sources of personal power in Southerners' difficult lives.
I found this a trifle tedious, and I'm not unsympathetic, but there was a lot of relatives, bemoaning the loss of their daughters without giving any real insight into these girls' lives. It seems like these young women had lives completely disconnected from their families. And I also felt that... Is there a little there? Well,
I would disagree that they were totally disconnected from their families.
Well,
or from their friends.
They were leading lives as prostitutes. They were into drugs with this guy. I mean, what is incredible to me is that you have 8 women disappearing like this over a very short period of time, really, in a town of 10,000, 11,000 people. And no one knows who did it after all that time. I mean, that to me is the incredible thing. But I don't actually think they find out who did it by the end of the series.
No, I don't think they do either. There are suspects who come in. Obviously, the original police investigation was compromised without doubt. And it's interesting that these guys, when they go in and do their own investigation following the original book and the author's investigation, that they give the current sheriff quite a lot of airtime, which is a little bit rare in these things.
Well, he actually comes into the series too, Ethan Brown, and I sort of felt that it might pick up a little bit more then. I think that's the end of the 2nd episode, which is all I've seen. But I just felt also that this is another instance of people wanting to stretch their material over too many episodes, just to eke out another hour of television.
I found it absolutely mesmerising. I must say, I couldn't take my eyes off it. I thought it was absolutely beautifully done. The cinematic technique allied to the rather rigorous journalistic approach, I thought worked really effectively.
I don't think it is rigorous. This is where we disagree.
Yeah, okay.
Go on, what are you going to give it?
I'm going to give this 4.5.
I'm going to give it 3.5.
All right.
There is no serial killer.
They can kill in this town and get away with it. 'Cause this is the devil's playground. And they're running right along with him.